How are you processing this incident, this attack yesterday in Australia?
Well, I think like most Jewish Canadians, I wish I could say I was shocked, but I'm not shocked. I'm horrified, I'm devastated, I'm angry. But I think that Jews across the world have seen public shootings in the United States in both DC and Colorado. We saw what happened at the synagogue in Manchester. And we know that, unfortunately, to be Jewish is to be a target in far greater numbers than the general population. You have much greater threats against Jewish communities today. And I think what you saw yesterday I was at 2 Hanukkah celebrations in my riding last night, the public lighting of the menorah in Côte St. Luc and in Hampstead. I think what you saw was defiance. I think Canadian Jews are not going to be told that we can't hold our holidays in public. We're not going to be shut out of Canadian society. We're going to fight back, and we're going to make sure that we're visible, we're proud, and we're loud, and that all Canadians, I think the vast majority of Canadians who are allies of ours, want to ensure that we live in a society where Jewish Canadians feel not only at home and comfortable, but equal to all other Canadians in our safety.
What do you hear from the Jewish community about that very thought of safety, that feeling of safety, especially in light of this tragic event? What do people say?
I mean, I think for the last 2 years, Jewish Canadians and Jews in all Western countries have made very clear to our governments at all levels that we don't feel safe. We feel that it is unacceptable for people to be targeting our synagogues, our schools, our community centers, protesting about things that are happening across the world that Jewish Canadians have no control over outside of our businesses and in our neighborhoods. And that's why the federal government has put forward the Combating Hate Act, which creates new intimidation and obstruction offenses for people protesting outside of community buildings, to give police more tools. We've put forward a bill that now says that holding up terror symbols or swastikas or the SS Bolt could lead to an offense. And I think that we're reacting now with a lot stronger words and a lot stronger of a message to police that we want them to act, because Jewish Canadians shouldn't be held hostage any longer. What has scared the community the most is these demonstrations that continue and have been repeated. There is now peace in the Middle East. These demonstrations need to end, and Jewish Canadians need to be allowed to go back to their lives. And there's no circumstances under which it is appropriate to protest outside of a church or a synagogue or a mosque or a place of worship or a community building. That this is just not where people should be protesting and yelling and screaming things that that are not only hurtful but deeply anti-Semitic.
What about, and this has to be my last question to you, Anthony, this morning, but what about education? I hear you, and I heard the Prime Minister yesterday making those comments, his comments in Ottawa, but what about the whole idea of educating people, especially young people?
Well, I mean, absolutely. We now have Holocaust education that exists in most schools, but we also need education on contemporary anti-Semitism and what is anti-Semitism and what isn't. We also need people to understand what it is to be a Zionist, which is simply to understand that Israel has a right to exist as a democratic Jewish state in the Middle East, in the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people, because too many people are believing that that people are saying you can't criticize the government of Israel. Of course you can criticize the government of Israel, but calling for the world's only majority Jewish state to disappear, that is also deeply anti-Semitic, and people are couching anti-Semitism with the rhetoric of calling it anti-Zionism. People shouldn't be anti-Zionist. Like the Prime Minister said, a Palestinian state should be a Zionist state. We all should be Zionists because all it says is that we want Israel to have a right to exist. And I think that fundamental misunderstanding is leading to a lot of the problems we're seeing in Canadian society, where the vast majority of Canadian Jews are Zionists and feeling very uncomfortable where they're being told that Zionists are not welcome in certain spaces. So we need education in Marcia for sure, but I think the Jewish community feels that education is just one component. We need a lot more.
Anthony Housefather, thank you so much. Anthony, good to see you this morning. Appreciate your time with us.
Good to see you too, Marcia. Thank you for having me.
Of course.